Welcome everybody, both friend and stranger, old and new, to this time of worship in the Unitarian tradition. My name is Diane Rutter and I'm the lay assistant here at Kingswood Meeting House in Hollywood in the West Midlands. My thanks, as usual, go to our organist extraordinaire, Mr. Peter Flower, whose dedication, technical skills and patience allow us to keep the Kingswood community alive, thriving and worshipping together, albeit at a distance. Now, about a month ago, as some of you will know, my lovely little Jack Russell dog Bingo and my supportive and much loved stepmother Gwen died within hours of each other. Death of a loved one is something we all experience in life, and it sparks off many memories, be they good or bad. So today I'd like to talk to you about memories, but particularly about good memories. Let's start our worship by lighting our chalice candle, as many Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists do the world over, to mark a time set aside for the divine. And our chalice lighting words today are by Unitarian Universalist Molly Brewer. My beloved people, I cannot pretend, and so I will not tell you that everything is okay right now. There is no reason to be angry or that you must be optimistic or at peace. I cannot pretend these things, and so I won't tell them to you. But now our chalice is lit, and so all I ask in this moment is that we remember the words of Rebecca Parker. There is a love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding us all. By the light of our chalice, let us rest in this love. So let's take time to pray together, and I invite you to say with me the words of the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. I've just the one reading for you today, and it's from one of my very favourite authors, Robert Fulghum, and it's from his book, Some Observations from Both Sides of the Refrigerator Door. In the first piece of his book, Robert talks about raiding the fridge for leftovers in the middle of the night and what peculiar combinations of food he has eaten and the fond memories he has of those times. And he ends the piece thus. Leftovers, in their less visible form, are called memories, stored in the refrigerator of the mind and the cupboard of the heart. These are just a few of mine that came up tonight. The laughter of a friend, the last embers of a great fire, the long glance of love from my spouse from across a room full of people, an unexpected snowfall, the year everything went wrong but turned out right, and a chunk of poetry I learnt in high school. I'm not often aware that I am happy, but I often remember that I have been happy, especially when I sit in my kitchen, wrapped in an invisible patchwork quilt made of the best moment of my yesterdays. These precious things, these leftovers from living on, remain to serve as survival rations for the heart and soul. You can't entirely live off them, but life is not worth living without them. My solitary late-night forays for food in the fridge are often garnished with such thoughts. I don't go to the refrigerator just to eat, but to think, to sort it all out. And sometimes I think about the other people who must be at the same place, in their kitchen, at this very moment, doing exactly what I'm doing. Hungering as I hunger, wondering as I wonder. We will never get together. There will never be an international convention of us. No kitchen is big enough. But we are bound together. We make up that secret society of the fellowship of the fridge, somehow muddling through and getting by, and not really as alone as we often think we are after all. Lovely reading there from Robert Fulgham. once more we come for a time of prayer, but first a time for silent reflection. Let us bring before the divine the innermost thoughts of our hearts and minds in a short time of silence. Spirit of life, who draws us together in a web of holy relationships, make your presence known with us and in us and among us. Remind us that we are not alone in history. Ignite us with the courage of the living tradition. Remind us that we are not alone in entering the future. Anchor us with patience and perseverance. Remind us that we are not alone in our times of grief and pain. Comfort us with your Spirit, manifest in human hands and voices. Remind us that we are not alone in joy and wonder. Inspire us to honour and extend the beauty we find in this world. Divine music of the universe, let our hearts beat in diverse and harmonious rhythms, cooperating with an everlasting dance of love. May we move with the rhythms of peace. May we move with the rhythms of compassion. May we move with the rhythms of justice. Source of our stars and planets, water and land, open our hearts to all of our neighbours. Open our souls to a renewal of faith. Open our hands to join together in the work ahead. So be it. Amen. As I said earlier on, Robert Fulghum is one of my very favourite authors. I derive much comfort from his humour and his observations of what we might usually consider to be the mundane. In the chapter I read from, which is around 12 pages of paperback size, he crams quite a lot about what you find in the fridge in the middle of the night. Way too much to read to you all now. Check out this book is my advice. In fact, check all of his books if you like this reading. I liked the fact he gave us that his refrigerator at the time of his writing in the 1980s hums in B-flat major, and that in many households with a fridge, the fridge is the centre of the household universe and a summary of the life events therein. Lists, postcards, magnets, artwork, reminders, all are often posted on a fridge and add to the joy of the goodies to be found inside the fridge. He's found parcels of meat in the freezer section with such really bad freezer burn that it needs to be buried, and items well past their sell-by date in the fridge section. Well, I don't know about you, but in my family, it doesn't matter what any of the dates on the items in the fridge say. If it smells okay, then it's good to eat. What's your favourite leftover snack for the middle of the night or early morning? Mine is leftover takeaway, in particular Chinese takeaway. I just pop it all in the wok and give it a really good heat through, and voila, breakfast. And what is your holy grail of leftover finds? For Robert, it's meatloaf or leftovers from Thanksgiving dinners. In my family, it was anything that could be made into squeak, as in bubble and squeak. Usually leftovers from a Sunday dinner. Preferably in there had to be quite a bit of potato, some leeks or onion, carrots, lots of green veg, and then we threw in a bit of sausage and or bacon for a bit more flavour. And there you were, sorted for a fabulous brunch. And please note, it must be cooked in butter for the best flavour. But if it's a midnight snack, anything goes. Preferably slapped between a couple of pieces of well-buttered bread. I love the way that Robert describes memories as leftovers, stored in the refrigerator of the mind and the store cupboard of the heart. As I wrote this address, I could hear the sound of gulls calling to one another through the open window of the craft room, and I'm immediately transported to my childhood visits to Watchet and Perranporth in the southwest of England. Some memories, though, do seem to have freezer burn or are well past their sell-by date and are better left alone or discarded. For memories can make us sad or regretful as well as happy. From the Buddhist tradition comes the quote, "There is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way." We can choose to remember those things which made us happy and use them to build as much of a happy life as is possible for ourselves and for others. Not that we should always discard unhappy memories, as some of them are instructive. As my Uncle Arthur used to say, we learn something from everything, even if it's to say to ourselves, I didn't like that, I won't do it again, and I certainly won't do it to others. What makes me happy? Well, many things. Handicrafts, food, dogs, family, friends, gardens, set box binging of favourite TV programmes, helping others, supporting them where I can, passing on lessons I have learned and learning from others, travelling, experiencing new things and ideas. All of this happiness builds on my memories of these things. But what do you do when you have no memories? You build them. It was Gwen's dearest wish that we all get together as a family, but it didn't happen. Gwen has 3 sons who all live overseas, and Dad has 4 children, the nearest a 2-hour drive away, which is me. And because they married late in life after a 20-year engagement and ran off to Gretna Green to do the deed in secret, and we had a right palaver trying to find out the date of the wedding, and at one point we thought it was all a hoax, there was never a whole family gathering. What we now have are new memories that were made because of her death. A phoenix rising from the ashes. We've started an email group between the 7 siblings. We had to sort out the funeral and the paperwork that ensues after a death. It was also at this time that we discovered my dad wasn't capable of sorting anything, as what we thought from a distance was a bit of memory loss is actually dementia. And Dad is now living on a loop of memories, of things that have been and things he thinks ought to be but never can. And most of the time, it keeps him fairly happy. And you've probably done this yourselves because everybody faces loss in their life. But in looking up photos for the order of service, we all remembered our own version of Gwen, how she had touched our individual lives. In my case, it was the encouragement she gave me to move to Hollywood to work here at Kingswood Meeting House when the opportunity arose, and the hard-won skill we acquired in painting trees at Monton Art Group. I usually preface a eulogy, whether I'm reading it or not, with the words, "What you are about to hear is but a snapshot of a person's life. But my hope is that in the days, weeks, months, and years to come, you will all share your memories with one another, because we all have different memories to share, even of the same incidents. Any congregation throughout its hopefully long lifetime creates memories for the future generations as well as for itself in the present. Not just the physical, the plaques, the minutes of the meetings, the list of ministers, the polished wood, etc., etc., but the things that are intangible, the goodwill, the warmth, the welcome that can be generated by a group of disparate people who come together to worship willingly in harmony, despite their many differing points of view. This too can be passed along and should be passed along as a living memory. The openness, the acceptance, the seeking together. As Robert writes, there are others who hunger as we hunger, others who wonder as we wonder. What do we wonder? What's it all about? Why? Is this all there is? Well, we can exchange ideas, points of view, readings, comfort, friendship, help, support, be different without any animosity of any kind. We can create an environment where people feel secure in the knowledge that they won't be ridiculed or ostracised for difference. We won't suit everyone. That's just not possible. But it is good to be part of an environment where people can thrive, should they wish to, where we strive really hard to create something for all of us. And where there can be an open door, and where people can hopefully come in, find a smorgasbord of ideas, ideals, beliefs, and a way of worshipping that will satisfy their cravings in the depth of the night when they are searching for that certain something that brings happy memories and fills their soul and their spirit with nourishment to see them through the length of their days. Amen. Today we're going to have a sung benediction. So I wish you well for the week as we now puff out our chalice candle.